All right, let's talk about a really powerful and, honestly, a pretty necessary shift in how we think about leadership. We're going to move away from this idea of the leader as the indispensable hero. The person who has to be in every meeting, who has to approve every little thing, and move toward becoming a systematic architect. Someone who actually builds systems that can run and even thrive without them.
So, let's just dive right in with a question that I swear every single leader has asked themselves at some point. You delegate a task, it comes back, and it's not quite right. And that little voice in your head goes, is it just faster if I do it myself? We've all been there.
But here is the brutal truth of the matter. If your team can't function without you, you're not actually leading them. You've just built a system of dependence, and that's not a badge of honor. Not at all. It's actually the very core of a problem we're going to dismantle today. Something we'll call the hero's boomerang trap.
So what exactly is this trap? Well, it's that classic, all-too-common scenario. You hand off some work, the result comes back weak, and you end up just redoing it yourself. It's like a boomerang that you throw out, but it always comes right back to your desk. And this reinforces a really dangerous belief.
Yeah, that thought right there, in that moment of frustration, it feels so true, doesn't it? But what it's really doing is creating this vicious cycle of dependency. It stops your team from ever growing, it keeps you buried in day-to-day operational tasks, and believe me, it is incredibly expensive for the whole organization.
So what is the actual cost of being the hero who always has to step in and save the day? Look, this isn't just about you feeling busy or overwhelmed. We're talking about a tangible financial impact. Let's actually look at the data behind this.
Every single time your team has to hit pause and say, hey, we're waiting for your decision on this, it costs the organization money. The source material puts that number at around $200 in lost momentum and opportunity. Every single time. Just stop and think about how quickly that adds up in a week or a month.
And what's really fascinating here is the stark contrast this paints. The hero is indispensable, which we now know is a trap, and they spend a whopping 80% of their time just on operations. Their team is paralyzed without them, which leads to total burnout. The architect, on the other hand, well, they aim to be operationally unnecessary. They spend way less time in the weeds, and because of that, their team thrives, becoming this hub of innovators.
And this chart just brilliantly illustrates the impact on innovation. Teams led by architects, teams that are empowered by clear systems, they generate 3 times more proactive ideas. They're not waiting around for permission, they're actively out there solving problems, because the structure actually allows them to.
Okay, let's get to the turning point. Let's see how we build from just, recognizing there's a problem to actually solving it. This is where the real transformation happens, and it all starts with a fundamental shift in your perspective.
This right here is the critical mindset shift. See, the hero blames the person, but the architect investigates the process. They understand that a poor result isn't an employee failing. It's a failure in how the task was defined and delegated in the first place. This single phrase is the pivot point, actually saying, this is my fault. Clearly, I didn't give you the context you needed to succeed. It changes the entire dynamic of the conversation. It moves you away from blame and toward collaboration, and it opens the door to fixing the system, not just this one little mistake.
So how do you actually build a system to prevent that boomerang from ever coming back to you? The answer is a tool called a non-intervention protocol, or PNI. This concept, sometimes called by its Spanish name, Protocolo de No Intervención, is really the key to creating an autonomous, high-performing team.
So what is a PNI? Well, it's essentially a pre-agreed process. It's designed to take all that decision-making authority that lives inside your head and transfer it into a system that the entire team can use. It makes dependency on any one person, including you, basically zero.
And building one is a team sport. It's collaborative. First, you pinpoint the recurring problem. Second, you get together with your team and co-create a checklist of non-negotiable quality standards. Think about a marketing team, right? A PNI for social media posts could be as simple as, does it have approved branding? Is the link trackable? Has it been proofread by a second person? That simple checklist removes the manager as a bottleneck. Then, finally, you implement that checklist as the new standard operating procedure. Done.
Now just look at the difference this makes in the workflow. Before, a problem goes to the executive, who becomes a bottleneck, and any action is delayed by a day or two. After, with a PNI, a non-intervention protocol, that same problem hits the system, an automatic decision is made based on the checklist, and action is immediate. You've literally removed yourself from the critical path.
Okay, so this isn't just some nice, fluffy theory about empowerment. The transformation from hero to architect produces some pretty dramatic, measurable results that you can actually see in the data.
First off, you get a massive 40% reduction in the number of times you have to jump in and fix things. I mean, think about that. That's a huge chunk of your time and your energy that's now freed up to focus on strategy, on the future, on the stuff that really matters.
And what does your team do with all this newfound autonomy? Well, their proactivity and their innovation can absolutely skyrocket, increasing by as much as 300%. They're not just executing tasks anymore. They are actively improving the business.
And these effects just compound. Within just 90 days of implementing this approach, organizations see a 30% drop in talent turnover, a 25% increase in productivity, and a 50% jump in team satisfaction. People are happier, they're more productive, and guess what? They stick around longer.
And this really gets to the heart of the architect mindset. Your legacy as a leader isn't about what you accomplished yourself. It's about what keeps working, what continues to grow and innovate, long after you're gone. So this leaves us with a final, provocative thought. Just think about it for a second. What is just one recurring decision that right now only you can make? How could you build a simple checklist, a non-intervention protocol, to automate it and empower your team? That right there, that's your first step to becoming an architect.